This is our final sample question. Again, remember, our stuff comes from 5.1, 5.2 material, and 5.3. So here we have to worry about the negative exponent. See how we have a negative exponent? That's what we learned in 5.3. We told you that negative exponents means that we're actually going to flip the problem. It doesn't mean that we're going to have a negative answer. All it means is that we're going to have to make the problem and move the base either from top to bottom or bottom to top. So how did we handle these problems before? When we're focusing on just the negative exponent, the first thing I always told you was, is the problem written in fraction format? Do you see a fraction bar? If you don't see a fraction bar, then we told you, you can draw in a fraction and put a 1 there. Now remember, this is your negative exponent, and once I circled the negative exponent, I had to move the base. See how it was found on top? I'm going to rewrite it so that the base is at the bottom. Now be careful here. What's the base? We always said be careful on what the base is. You know that this applies to the first thing it hits. What's the first thing it hits? The set of parentheses. That means you're moving the whole set of parentheses down to the bottom. Not just the 4, but the set of parentheses, because the base is the parentheses. If this parentheses wasn't here, then we would only move the 4 down, but keep the negative where you found it. But luckily this one has parentheses, so we move the whole set of parentheses down. Now you can't leave this blank, so what was in it originally? -4, make sure you bring it as -4. So once I bring down the base found on top, now written at the bottom, we can get rid of the negative from the exponent. So it's going to be a +2, okay? Remember, once I take the base and switch the position, then this becomes the opposite, or positive. Now, how do we clean this up? Well, you know that if there's nothing left on top, there's always an understood 1. And then can you do -4 squared? Remember, the base is the set of parentheses. So it's like saying, write -4 out twice. So what's -4 times -4? Your final answer is going to be 1/16. See how we have a positive answer? This had nothing to do, the negative sign had nothing to do whether our answer is going to be negative or positive. Okay? So you just got to remember, when you see a negative exponent, write the problem as a fraction bar, circle the negative exponent, move the base, so you need to know what the base is. When I drop it down, the base was a set of parentheses, so I took the base, switched the position, put it at the bottom, and then clean it up. You know what parentheses of -4 is. -4 times -4 is +16. So what happens if someone has an odd number? Okay? Some of you are going to get a -1, some of you are going to get an odd one, which means some of you will get a final answer that's negative, and others will get a final answer that's positive. So what happens if you're the person who got this guy? Remember, I said that negative sign has nothing to do if your final answer is going to be negative or positive. Okay? So the first thing that you're going to realize is that, ooh, we have a negative exponent. So you're going to ask yourself, is this problem written as a fraction? Do you see a fraction bar? And if you don't see a fraction bar, I told you you can draw a fraction bar and just put it over 1. The second part was the negative rule, was to circle the negative exponent. The third step was to switch the base. So if it was found on top, switch the base by bringing it to the bottom. Switch the position. If this was found in the bottom and had a negative exponent, you have to switch the position and bring it up top. Make sure you know what the base is. So this negative 1, boom, the first thing it hits is the set of parentheses. So the parentheses is the base. So I'm not moving just 6, I'm moving the parentheses. So found on top goes to the bottom. Now don't leave that blank. You know that's going to be negative 6. Once you switch the position, that was step 3, we said we can rewrite this, but as a positive, because we switched the position. And then our 5th step was always see if you can simplify. Now notice that there's nothing left on top, so if there's nothing left on top, you have to put in that understood 1. Now what does negative 6 to the first power mean? Remember I said that anything, any item, has an understood exponent of 1. So if you get a 1, you technically don't have to write it in, because there's an understood 1 here. So if you were going to reduce this, positive divided by negative, then your answer is going to be a negative 1, 6. And again, it's not because this was negative, it's just because this was a odd number, so then the negative stays. Remember how the other one was an even number and the negative went away? That's the reason why. Not because of this sign, but because even versus odd for the digit. So our final answer for this guy is negative 1, 6.